I'll wait a few 30 seconds here for people to come in.
Awesome.
All right. Well, good morning and good afternoon to everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Alex Scarpito with the marketing department here at Bigleaf Networks, and we're here today to talk about building a solid cloud foundation with a cloud access network. So let's cover some housekeeping before we get started. We are, of course, recording this presentation and we'll send you a copy via email tomorrow, so you can feel free to revisit it, share it with your team, etc. Also, we want to make sure to answer all your questions following this presentation. So there's a question box in the GoToWebinar control panel. So if you have any questions during or after, please feel free to type your questions in that box and we'll get back to you at the end. And I'm excited to be joined this morning by Justin Ryder, Channel Sales Manager, and he's going to walk us through the presentation today. So thank you again, everyone, and thanks, Justin, for joining us, and I'll kick it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Just to reiterate, Justin Ryder here, Channel Sales Manager at Bigleaf Networks. And also just want to stress what Alex said about the questions. So feel free to, in fact, you're highly encouraged to submit any questions that you have throughout the presentation, and then we'll take some time at the end to go over some of those. Want to make sure make the best use of your time. So we want to get you the answers that you need. So with that, let's talk about building a solid cloud foundation with the Bigleaf Cloud Access Network. So what are we here to talk about today? We are here to talk about what a cloud access network is, why it's different than some of the other options out there, and kind of what it means to us. And then we will discuss, why this would benefit a business, especially now with so many applications that are located in the cloud and are SaaS based. So when we kind of take a closer look into the past, or maybe some of this is more current for you, but IT leaders were able to manage their connectivity and perform at their LANs. This is looking at when the technologies and applications were all hosted on site, in a server closet down the hallway. And even when that connectivity and performance needed to be expanded, to include other locations, off-site servers or storage, the infrastructure and everything that they were managing, it was static and it was known, it was predictable. So we're kind of talking here about the traditional hub and spoke topology. You've got all your applications and storage hosted locally at HQ, and everyone else is tunneling into that site, and you could kind of just put a box on each end and make management of it possible, and that was great for what it was. But again, with so many things moving to the cloud and off-prem, times have changed a little bit, so you've got to figure out ways to adapt. And with the introduction of these cloud technologies, you can't really just drop a box into the cloud, like you could drop a box at the edge of another location to manage that connection. Some of you are probably familiar with MPLS, some of you might still be using it. Very predictable, site to site type stuff. So we've moved away from that, and really where we're at now is you're increasingly relying on the connectivity that's managed by third-party ISPs and carriers. So there's a lot of things that you just can't control anymore. You've lost visibility, and it involves a lot of uncertainty and unpredictability, which are not great qualities to have in the network that a business relies on, not only for their employees to be productive, but for these businesses customers' satisfaction. So, talking about the performance issues that not only can, but will inevitably, pop up along the paths of the public internet. We look at some of these: packet loss, latency, jitter, micro outages, major outages. We hear about companies being down for hours and hours, sometimes days at a time. and it just results in lost productivity and lost business. And with the nature of the internet, now being distributed, it causes even more issues, especially with the high demand and use of the public internet and public cloud today. So you need to, ensure that all of the things that you're spending money on and that you rely on for business continuity, things like voice over IP, Microsoft Teams, O365, AWS, you name it. You need to make sure that this stuff is, staying online, that you're, protecting and insulating it from outages and problems. So Bigleaf is going to help ensure that, all of these applications and internet-based traffic is performing like it's supposed to be, like you would expect it to, in an optimized fashion, even over the public internet where there are these inherent issues. So these are some of the questions that you should probably be asking yourself, to determine if you've got, a solid architecture for this kind of digital transformation that's happening. What does your WAN topology and technology look like? Do you have end-to-end control and visibility today? Do you have visibility into the health of your WAN? And maybe you're paying, a high monthly cost for MPLS networks. So, one thing that we see as a common initiative is to move as much as possible to the cloud, to reduce cost and remove some of that ownership and management, which, removes the need for IT leaders to, forecast years of really expensive server costs, and server maintenance, things like that. So you're removing some of that responsibility, which is great, of maintaining these servers and things like that. But at the same time, you're also introducing some of the vulnerabilities of the public cloud and the public internet into your environment. So for many, this is move to the cloud. This digital transformation has kind of created somewhat of a black hole for many. So Bigleaf is here to help with that. So what do? We combine proven SD-WAN technology with our own proprietary AI software that's going to provide a solid foundation for not only your cloud, but all of your internet-based technologies and applications. And we're able to provide this truly reliable performance that is really required in today's world, even over the public internet. So here you can kind of see a simplified kind of diagram architecture of how our technology works and how it would fit into your environment. So starting from the left-hand side here, picture your office, and next up you've got your firewall. So Bigleaf provides a pre-provisioned router to the end user site that's going to sit at the network edge in between their firewall and their ISP modems. Here in this diagram, we're kind of showing two ISPs in an environment. And Bigleaf is going to provide Bigleaf IP addresses for the firewall WAN interface. That is the only change you need to make to your network. So to your firewall, it's actually going to appear as if you only have one single connection, one single block of IPs, even though you might have 2, 3, or 4. From there, we're going to be broadcasting that same block of IPs over any and all of your internet connections. So we're going to tunnel across these ISP circuits to the nearest gateway cluster, our cloud access network, which we'll unpack here a little bit more. But these are servers that sit at the core of the internet and are located, where your cloud application servers live as well. So we're able to intelligently load balance this traffic across, up to 4 ISPs based on the health of each circuit, as well as the different types of traffic that are coming in and out of the network. We do this with our same IP failover that enables us to move sessions, across different networks without them dropping. And then we're monitoring these connections as well for performance, and we're able to route and prioritize all of the internet-based traffic, putting you back in the driver's seat. So what is the Cloud Access Network? We could dig into the technical weeds here, but it's a purpose-built private network that we own and operate. We're managing, private servers and circuits between our data centers. And it's our own network that lies on the backbone of the internet. So let's see where these are located. We're strategically distributed across the US, and then we've also got a few over in Western Europe. So kind of, regardless of where you're at in these areas, you're never too far away from one of our data centers. And then you're also going to have a backup data center assigned as well in case anything were to ever happen to your primary. So what are the benefits? Why should you care? Starting with our bidirectional dynamic QoS quality of service, this is enabled by this cloud access network in combination with our AI software. And this is something, you hear about firewall-based SD-WAN and they talk about QoS, but what we're talking about here is not able to be accomplished by any firewall. So I'll tell you why. The Bigleaf Edge device is sitting at an office location, right? And it's constantly in communication with that nearest cloud data center where we're paired with all of these applications. And we're able to essentially bookend that traffic, right? And not only prioritize something, like a VoIP call leaving the edge, but as it's coming in from the data center, we're able to pick that up and prioritize it from the data center level, before your firewall would ever even know that a VoIP call was coming in. So with firewall-based QoS, it kind of just is prioritizing, what's leaving the edge, and then you lose complete control and visibility. So with that QoS, we use that same IP failover that we mentioned, which enables the seamless use of multiple circuits at the same time without having to re-IP. So it can just move seamlessly across 2 different providers or 3 or 4 different providers without having to change an IP address. With firewall failover, it just can't do that. It's got to, drop the IPs of the current provider and then pick up the new IPs of the other provider. So, we're providing some things that your firewall just can't do. And then our proprietary AI software, it's looking at the traffic and the network conditions 10 times a second, ensuring that important traffic is prioritized and routed or rerouted properly to ensure that you have a good experience and you remain, online. And then the connectivity into the cloud access network has redundancy. And again, it's located in the same place as all of these, really common cloud applications that businesses rely on today. So let's talk about the software a little bit. So it's going to identify 100% of the traffic. And then it's going to, provide optimized routing based on the circuit health and the traffic type. It's using all of this information that it's picking up to make sure you have the best experience, reading and reacting in real time. Now, some of you might be familiar with BGP. So our same IP failover kind of functions similarly, but with much more intelligence without the headache, expense, or management. So we're able to monitor the traffic, and network quality from the edge to the cloud and back, and make decisions on where and how that traffic should be routed. And then keep in mind, all these things that I'm talking about, Bigleaf is plug and play. It's a simple install, and all of these things are going to be happening, automatically in the background without you having to do or manage anything. So it's just dynamically adapting in real time. All right, so most of you probably recognize these logos. We've got all these peering relationships and these data centers where, all these cloud providers have their own servers as well. So just to expand on that a little bit, we're able to enhance your cloud experience by us having these gateways and these major peering centers. These are large cloud data centers where your cloud traffic is likely already going to because it's where these applications live. With Bigleaf, you now have a direct handoff within the cloud. And with the Bigleaf device at your edge, you're, again, bookending that traffic, which enables you to get end-to-end control and visibility, even over the public internet, regardless of who you're using for your internet service providers. So if we're not directly peered with one of these content providers, we're typically a hop or two away, and we can always figure that out for you ahead of time. But most of the problems that are occurring and causing these problems are typically, on the last mile and the middle mile of the internet, and that's exactly what we're able to solve for. So with Bigleaf, not only do you regain that control of your traffic, but you get this granular visibility into the WAN, which most people will not have access to today. We've got a nice dashboard that you can see some snippets of here on this slide, where we're going to report on things like your live bandwidth utilization, what types of traffic are going over each of your connections. And then with that AI software, doing the monitoring 10 times a second, we're able to report on the health of each of your ISP circuits, showing you, live data of packet loss, jitter, latency, even how much bandwidth is available to you at any given time. So, this is information that typically is very difficult to get. You'd have to call up your ISP and escalate, and in most cases that's not a great experience. So you can also provide or restrict access for other users, and customize alerts for changes in quality on your circuits, hard downs, as well as risks that Bigleaf's AI is able to notify you of. So kind of just to bring everything together in summary, Bigleaf is ideal for any company that has critical applications in the cloud, whether it's one site or multiple locations and branches. Especially ideal for distributed enterprise companies, that maybe they don't have a huge IT staff, or maybe they have locations with no IT staff. Again, this is all happening in the background with AI, without anybody needing to manage it or tell it what to do. So we're a non-technical install. It usually only takes no more than a few minutes. We're going to leverage your existing security policies and firewalls, so you don't need to make any changes there. Automated bidirectional QoS and same IP failover. And then, maybe one of the more undervalued benefits of Bigleaf is our 24/7, 365 support team. They're all US based, and they're all full-time, Bigleaf employees that are happy to do, cross-vendor troubleshooting. If, any of our customers have an issue on their network and they have, a Bigleaf, call our support team. We're going to do whatever we can to help solve your problem, even if it's not a Bigleaf problem. And then again, thousands of direct peering arrangements with all these cloud application providers with our gateway-owned network. So you're getting the most out of your investment in the cloud. So that's pretty much it for you today. Would love to check out any questions that have been submitted and kind of open it up for a Q&A.
Thanks again, Justin. First question here, if I'm in a call center environment, would Bigleaf prevent internet disruptions from dropping calls?
Yes, we would. Again, we'd be typically, picking that up at the data center level, and then, assuming that you've got a couple of diverse internet connections there, we'll be able to prioritize and, do seamless failover if something were to go down.
And does Bigleaf offer work from home solutions?
Yes, great question. Yes, we do. We have business packages that are designed to support symmetrical connections for the most part. And then we also have a home office version that is, we kind of retooled it a little bit, so it will support asymmetrical connections as well.
And last one here, will Bigleaf work with my existing firewall? You there, Justin? Looks like we may have lost him there, but
Oh, I think you cut out for just a minute. Can you hear me
oh,
okay?
okay. Yeah, last question was, will Bigleaf work with my existing firewall?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. You do not need to change anything there. We will work with any and all firewalls.
Awesome. Well, that's it for the questions. Thank you again, everyone, for joining today. And Justin, I appreciate you hopping on this presentation and explaining the benefits of Bigleaf to everyone. And just a reminder, everyone's going to get
Yes.
a email after this tomorrow morning with the recording. So feel free to watch it again and share it with your team. And thank you again, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Feel free to reach out if you'd like to learn more.